Hey, this is Chris Trapani, the Mortgage Pro. You know, I wanted to talk to you about a subject that's near and dear to my heart. You guys know me as the Fire Your Landlord guy, Chris the Mortgage Pro, but something that's really important is, why should you buy a house? I talk to you about this all the time, how to buy a house, but why should you buy a house? Now, if you've watched my videos over the years, you realize that children do better in school when their parents are homeowners. It's not every child, of course. Some super smart kids and of renters. I'm not saying that. But for some reason, they do better. You know, what is your reason for wanting to buy a house? True story. When I was a little kid, my mom said, "What do we need to buy a house for?" And my dad said, "We're buying a house." And my mother said, "Nobody in my family ever owned a house." Well, I want you to think about that. If nobody in your family ever owned a house, is that a good reason not to buy it? My dad said, "We're buying a house." And that became his biggest source of wealth in his older years. So that was a big deal. So you should think about, what's your reason to buy a house? Maybe you want a pet and you can't have a pet where you are. You know, maybe you want a dog or a cat. Maybe you want a giant Pomeranian. Whatever it is, who wants to live with you or you want to live with them, there's good reason for that. You should buy a house. Almost any reason is a good reason. So let's think about what we should do in order to buy a house. There's certain things that most of us need to do. Now, I'm assuming you have an 800 credit score, right? Yeah, I know you're looking at me and you're laughing, of course. So you have to get your credit in line. The greatest thing about credit is, hey, it could take a while, but you can always fix it over time. Now, when I was a kid, my mom said, "We'll eat grass, but we'll pay our bills on time. Then we're going to figure out if we're going to eat steak or beans." And a lot of times it was beans. This is how it was way back in the day. This is how we have to adopt an attitude about credit and how to have great credit. Now, obviously pay your bills on time before you go out and have a good time. For most of you, I know you're saying, "That's not me," but I do want to share this because it is important. You can't have collection accounts. You can't be irresponsible with debts. And you can't charge your credit cards up to the max, because that's going to lower your score. See, the credit agencies look at you and say, do you use the credit responsibly? Do you pay it on time? Or do you have excuses? I've had people say things like, "Well, I think I paid them enough." If you lent somebody money and they said to you, "Well, I think I paid you enough," you wouldn't like it. Neither do the credit companies. So we have to think of this, and we have to start the approach to fix it. Now, one of the things everybody can do is do credit repair. If you have poor credit, there are professionals. I have a professional that I could recommend you to. He will work on your credit. He will remove bad stuff. There's a lot of things. He's not a magician, but there's a lot of things he can do over time that can teach you how to raise your credit score. In the book and in some of the other videos that are on the YouTube channel, I teach you some things to do about credit, how to raise your credit score. So when you decide you want to buy a house, if you don't have perfect credit, start thinking, how am I going to improve it? Reach out to us. We'll help you. Second thing we have to do is we have to save some money. Yes, there are down payment assistance programs, but I want you to have some money anyway. Look, even if we get you into a down payment assistance program, you're still going to want to paint your color. Maybe put carpets, do little things to your house to make it your own. You're going to need money. And people say, "Chris, I can't save any money." Well, I'm going to show you a few things that you can do starting today to start saving money. Really? Yes. Let's take a look at number one. I always get people on this. Starbucks. Some people say, "Oh, I don't drink coffee." Okay. Most people spend $100 a month on Starbucks. If you want to buy a house, Starbucks isn't the top priority. So think about the amount of money you spend. $50 a month, $100 a month, that could go towards a new house. That's number one. Second thing I teach people to do is no going out to the movies. Look, do you really need a $20 bucket of popcorn? Stay home, watch Netflix, save the money, keep it in your pocket, or better yet, in the bank. Don't spend it. It's for buying a house. Now, here's where I get everybody. If I haven't gotten you with the first two, I get everybody. Because I look at people's bank statements every day, and it's absolutely amazing to me. Here's what I find. Eating out. Whether it's lunch, oh, well, I go to work and I brown bag it. We go to Applebee's. Yep. I look at people's bank statements and I see, it's incredible, $1,000 to $1,500, $2,000 a month sometimes on eating out. Look, I know it makes life convenient in this crazy day and age that we live in, but at the same time, would you rather eat out or have your own house? See, cook at home, save a ton of money, you'll be way healthier too. Now, another area where I teach people is stay out of the mini marts. You go get a tank of gas and then, it's $20 for this and $5 for this and $2 for that. And before people know it, they spend $20, $30 in the mini mart. Stay out of there. Fill your tank up with gas and get out of there. Now, this one, I teach people and they look at me like I'm crazy because we live in the 21st century. Leave your ATM card at home. What do you mean? Every time you walk into a store, I don't care if it's Target or Macy's or wherever, I want you to say to yourself, do I want that book or do I want my own house? Do I want those shoes or do I want that sweater or do I want my own house? See, when you start to assign a priority to the house, you're going to start to save money. Every time you get on your phone on Amazon, do you want that gadget or do you want your own house? That's going to help you. Now, a few years ago, a very dear friend of mine, what she did was she sent me a meme. She understands that I own the trademark to Fire Your Landlord, and I do a lot of fun stuff with Fire Your Landlord besides teaching. And she sent me this meme that she saw, and it really hit home. And it said, if you have a Land Cruiser or a Land Rover, but you still have a landlord, you're doing it wrong. And I know you're saying to yourself, well, I don't have a Land Cruiser. Look, I see people who make $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a year with $600, $700 a month car payments. Wrong priority. So get your affairs in order. Get your thinking right. I hate to use the word cheap. Maybe you need to be cheap for a little bit to get started on moving into your own house to fire your landlord. So here's what I want to talk to you about. You can change the history of your family. If you come from a family of renters, let's change it. If you come from a family of home buyers, you're expected to buy a home. Of course, you're going to do that. But for the rest, let's change the history. You realize that 90% of people who become millionaires do it by buying and owning real estate. Even if you don't think you're going to be a millionaire, buy and own real estate. When you go to retire, would you like to continue to pay rent, which, by the way, keeps going up and up and up? Or would you like to have a house that is completely paid off and you can live in retirement with dignity instead of always broke and always paying that landlord? Look, some landlords are wonderful people. We all know that. We all acknowledge that. And you'll see me make fun of them and tease them. And of course, I'm going to do that just to be funny for me and for you a little bit too. But it's time for you to fire your landlord and make a change for you and for your family. Become wealthy and change everything. Change the history of your family.